I'm painting this helmet for a BMX athlete for Monster Energy drink. His name is Sandoval. His last name Sandoval. He's into the desert themes. I'm not sure where he's from. I think he may be from New Mexico. Uh, but all of his helmets I do are like desert scenes with skulls, cactus, sand, all desert stuff. I've seen some of his videos. He's really amazing rider. The stuff he does on a bicycle is just unbelievable. He, I've been painting his helmets for I think 3 years now. I do the work for AP Designs, and it's for a Monster Energy drink. Here I am. I'm doing the tracing of the artwork that's actually going to be applied to the helmet. It's a skull laying in the desert, of course, with cactus and mountain. I've done 3 of these helmets, I believe. So I'm just getting the artwork ready to be applied onto the helmet. Which I'll do is first I make a stencil on tracing paper, and then what I do is I flip it over and I redraw it again on the back side. So then I'll lay it onto the tape that I've applied, and then I draw it onto the tape so I have an impression of what I need to cut out. So it's a masking. So what I'll do is I'll cut it out, and then I'll start painting with an airbrush on it, which you'll see in a few minutes here. Sometimes I have to do it a couple times because I won't get it straight or it's not centered properly. So sometimes I have to reapply it, but it's not that difficult and doesn't take that much time to do. But once I'm happy with it, what I'll do is I'll start cutting it out with the razor blade, and then peeling away the tape, which you'll see it's coming up, and then I start applying the paint. And here I go. I start cutting. I cut in a little bit deeper so it'll leave a little like a cut into the plastic. It's not very deep, but I'll be able to see where the image is by the cut into the paint and into the plastic. It's really quite. It's just something I could see later. Once what I do is I apply a whole coat over the whole thing, and I'm able to see these little cut lines all over, so I know where to airbrush. So I now start airbrushing. This time I'm going to put a whole base coat down. I don't always do it this way, but most of the time I do. Sometimes I apply white, or I apply a different color. Just depends on what it is, what I'm doing. This one, because I already have the background down on it, I put a base coat of white down just to cover up so you don't see anything come through on the other layers. This paint has a tendency sometimes after you clear it, some of the paints below will leave a ghost image on the final product, and that doesn't look good. So what I'll do is I'll put a base coat down just to cover that up so it doesn't interfere with the final product. Now I'm going in, I'm starting my detail. I'm laying out what the skull, the primary shape of the skull. So I start off like I do it differently every time. It just depends. Sometimes it's my mood. Sometimes it's because I don't get enough time. For a lot of these helmets, they need to be done right away. So it just depends on if I have a little bit of time. I'll do it a different way. If I have a little bit of leisure to really go in there and do it the way I would like to do it, and every one of them is a little bit different. I'm always experimenting, trying different ways. There's never any real set process to how I do this. I still actually feel like I'm still learning. I've been doing it for forever, but still, I feel like I'm always learning something. So it's a lot of fun, you know. Just go in there and experiment, and try different methods, different colors. Now I get it to a place where I'm kind of satisfied with. I mean, it's good enough there so I can see what needs to be done. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm peeling away the masking so I can see what the whole image looks like. So now it's time for me to put in the other elements of the design, what he wants on his helmet. What I'll do is I'll start painting in the mountains, and then the cactus, and then once I apply all this on there and paint them, I'll go and, as you can see, you can kind of tell that there's a clear masking over the skull, so I won't get any paint over that once I start painting. Like right here, see, I'm starting with my hand painting. I'm painting in the mountains, and then once I get all the background in, I will go in and I'll do the final detail on the skull and it really brings it all together. So for a little bit of time, it just doesn't look right. I mean, it's just kind of these funky colors, and you can kind of see what it's going to end up like, but it's still, it just little by little, it all starts to come together. Okay, I just put the base color of the mountain, so I know exactly where the mountain is. But what I've done is I've masked, I put in the cactus as well, as you can see. But what I've done is once I put the base colors down on those elements, I covered with a clear masking. So now I'm painting in the sky. And the skies are a lot of fun because they're always different, and they're just fun to do. I really enjoy a good sunset. I think everyone else does too. But these skies, sometimes they really quick. Sometimes they take me a little bit of time. Sometimes it'll take me all day to do a sky, depending on what they want. Some skies are just really easy to do, and some have a lot of colors, and they're just different. And no sunset's the same. They're all different, and they're fun to look at. But here I go. I'm going in with the... usually I start off with the lightest color first, and then I darken it as I go on. But at the very end, as you'll see, I'll go in with a really, really bright color, like white or a really bright yellow, and I'll put in the highlights of the sun has already gone down, so you're gonna get the very bottom edge of the sun reflecting on the clouds. So that'll be one of the last moves I make, is putting that really bright color white or a real bright yellow or a yellowish white color. I'll put in there, and it really makes it pop. Now I go in and do the details of the mountain. I've pulled away the masking, and now I'm applying the detail. Sometimes I'll go in over that. I'll brush it all in. Sometimes they're airbrush mountains. Sometimes they're just all paint brushed. And then sometimes I'll go in there and I'll put in a little bit of airbrush. Like when you look off into a distance at a mountain, you'll see it's a little bit lighter below. It'll be like I guess it would be not a mist, but you could just see that if there's a little mountain in front of a bigger mountain, you'll see that you'll see it lighter on the bigger mountain beyond the smaller mountain, and it gives it a lot of depth and dimension. I don't know if I did it on this helmet, but a lot of them I do. Now I'm putting it in the foreground. That's a lot of fun. I mean, if I had more time, I probably would have put like a like a lizard or something in the foreground here, just to make it fun, you know. Now I'm mixing up some colors to throw onto the highlights of the mountains, so they get a little bit of reflection of the light from the sun reflecting off the clouds. And I'll do the same onto the foreground on the dirt. And it really just what it does is it gives the skull a little more dimension. It brings out the skull more. And now I'm putting the same thing onto the skull. I peeled away the masking that was on the skull. I'm pretty happy with the background and stuff. So this will be the last one of the last steps. And then after I put in all these highlights, then I'll go in and I generally will outline everything with the darker color, and it really separates it. It pulls the skull away from the background, and it makes the foreground come up forward more. So it makes it more dimensional. It's just a method I learned throughout the years. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm happy with it when it's done, you know. And the people who received their helmets, they seem to be pretty satisfied with them as well, and I'm happy for that, because I'd be bummed out if they didn't like them. But as you can see here, you know, once you start putting the darker color in against that whiter color, it really starts to pop, and it just gives it more life, I guess. So you can really see what that black line does around it. As you can see there on the mountain, I did put a little bit lighter color there towards the base of the mountain, so it separates it from the foreground. I use a really fine brush for these. I try to make that line not so thick, but sometimes the brush gets away from me and kind of lose control of it. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just I'm a little bit of overspray. There's always a little bit of overspray. It's kind of difficult not to have overspray. So, and then you just add a little more to the dirt as well, or the foreground. And here I'm almost complete.